Hello folks, and if I look a little bit startled, it's because I've just had a long sneezing fit. But I'm not going to let sneezing get in between you and your hi-fi news. Oh no. Anyway, there's going to be those, lots of hi-fi news and going to have a rather long hinted tip thing, because I sort of went on a bit, but I hope you won't mind. And in addition to that, trivia. And for this particular question, we're changing the theme to law. And I hope you like your reggae, because that's where the question is coming from this time. And the question is, which famous reggae hit was inspired by the artist's number in prison following a conviction in 1966 for the possession of marijuana? What a surprise. I thought reggae musicians were convicted if they didn't have marijuana. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, one more time. Which famous reggae hit was inspired by the artist's number in prison following a conviction in 1966 for the possession of marijuana? Please don't Google anything like that. This is just a bit of fun, as I usually say, and I will give you the answer to this particular question at the end of the video. In the meantime, hi-fi news. And we will start with Vertere and the Super Groove 2 PTA tone arm. This is a new high-end tone arm from the UK company. To repeat, it's called the Super Groove 2 PTA, and PTA does not stand for Parents Teachers Association. It stands for Precision Tone Arm. Anyway, this one isn't out quite yet. It'll be out in July of 2024, in case you're watching this in the future. And if you are watching this in the future, you're probably saying, oh, that old thing. Anyway, it's still new for us back in the past. The Vertere Super Groove Precision Tone Arm includes roll-wrapped carbon fiber, stainless steel, aluminium alloys, brass and silicon nitride. Compared to earlier models, and there were, you get a new titanium headshell, heavier decoupled dual access stainless steel counterweight with adjustable outriders for azimuth adjustment. You get a stainless steel central pillar and bearing holder, VTA adjustment collar. There's a new bearing yoke as well. There's an improved armrest with arm lock for transit, and, as they say, a lot more. The main point of this thing is that it's a tri-pivot arm. Uni-pivots are, I would say, imprecise things, and when they're balanced on the point of the bearing, there really isn't a point because the point doesn't really exist. So the arm kind of sits on this bearing and kind of micro wobbles, you might say, sliding around something chronic. So this tri-pivot features 3 silicon nitride balls and a tungsten carbide point to provide the arm's support. The arm behaves as a uni-pivot essentially, but without the wobble. At least that's what the company says. Price? Well, I have 3. We have either £13,500 or €16,998 or $16,995. Now, Arcam has 3 new additions to its Radia series lineup. The Arcam ST25 is a digital player. Joining it is the SA35 and SA45 all-in-one systems, and they integrate G-class amplification and high-res streaming. Let's quickly talk about the ST25. This is the top-of-the-line music streamer from the company. It includes a redesigned linear toroidal power supply and an upgraded user interface. It also includes a full-color display. Under the hood, the ST25 features the HyperStream 4 DAC topology from ESS. The ST25 also uses the, as I say, the new linear toroidal transformer. Did I already say that? I think I did, didn't I? And that display, whole thing is controlled via an app, and it supports Apple AirPlay, Google Chromecast, Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect, and Roon. As for the SA35 and 45 models, they include a switchable phono stage, MC and MM, HDMI ARC support, two-way aptX adaptive Bluetooth, and the SA45 in particular includes fully balanced digital and analog audio, a redesigned power supply, Arcam's 5th generation of Class G amplification, and it pushes out 180 watts into 8 ohms. The SA35 doesn't push out quite as much, 120 watts into 8 ohms, and it also features the balanced design. In terms of prices, well, there's a few, and I'm going to put them all on the screen right now, and you can peruse. Next up, we have Ortofon. Now, Ortofon's Concorde cartridge design, which is an all-in-one cartridge. You get the cartridge and the head shell all mixed in, and you've got that droop snoot look, hence the Concorde name. That can be fitted to an arm with an SME fitting, so it's very, very quick and very easy to do. The Concordes have always been associated in the past with DJs rather than hi-fi enthusiasts. Now, there have been hi-fi leaning designs out there with the Concorde shape, and I personally reviewed a couple on my website. Or was it just the one? I think it may have been the one, the S2, the Picket version, and it was fine. It wasn't exactly amazing. I think I gave this a 7 out of 10 at the time. Well, Ortofon wants to change that, and they want to reach the hi-fi level. And what Ortofon has done is they've blended the Concorde shape, the chassis, with 2M technology. Now, you know the 2M range of cartridges, the 2M red, the 2M blue, and so on. So you've got a combo with those. So this range is called the Concorde Music. That's this combination of Concorde and the 2M tech. So you've got the Concorde Music Red at 149 euros, only have euros at the moment. The blue is 249 euros, the bronze 399 euros, the black 599 euros, and something called the black LVB 250 at 999 euros. Now the LVB variant, that uses a different cantilever. All the others use aluminium. The LVB uses boron. In terms of styli, well, they vary. I'm going to show you a little table later in this news item. You can see all the different styli types, but they vary from bonded elliptical on the red all the way up to nude shibata on the LVB. The range uses a rubber-based suspension system, and the design uses a quad coil system with copper wiring. And this system can be upgraded too by changing the stylus. And let me put this table on the screen now, and you can have a peruse. By all means, freeze and have a good look. So you can upgrade from the basic red all the way up to the black LVB 250. And here are those prices on screen. Just a quickie to finish off from France now, and Cabasse, the French company with the pearl, how do you say this? Miyuki? I think, it might be Miyuki, but someone tell me if I'm wrong, please. This is a speaker. Well, it's a mono speaker, it's wireless, it's battery powered, there's 12 hours of use per charge, and it can be paired as a stereo pair. It can also be used as a multi-room system. It pushes out 200 watts of power, and each of these speakers feature two 12-centimeter bass drivers in a push-pull layout and a tweeter called the Dome 45. You also get automatic room calibration, Wi-Fi, AirPlay 2 compatibility, and an Ethernet port. NAS support exists as well, and the entire chassis spans, well, the diameter that is, spans 17 centimeters. It weighs just over 2 kilograms. It's basically controlled by 6 illuminated LED tactile keys with haptic feedback, and the price, well, for each one, €699. That is your hi-fi news. On to a hint, a tip. Now, for this hint and tip, well, I almost hesitate to talk about this one. Well, okay, here goes. And yes, I am asking for trouble with this hint and tip. I am opening myself to all kinds of, well, 57 varieties of ridicule, basically. But maybe, just maybe, one or two of you out there hear what I hear and listen how I listen. I don't know. Take from this what you want or discard it and throw it in the wind to be taken over the horizon. Now, some of you will be bored to tears by the fact that I have moved house. I have mentioned this on several million occasions. However, my last house, that was wonderful for reviews because basically the entire house was isolated. Even more, my listening space was, well, it had extra isolation because it was situated over a garage in an isolated building away from the house. Now, I was very lucky to have it, and I appreciated it very much, as you might imagine. The house had neighbours, but there was quite a bit of space in between ourselves and the neighbours. There was little traffic. There was no street lights. The mains was new in terms of the wiring. This space was quiet, at least in hi-fi terms. Well, it was quiet on all terms, actually. As I say, I was very lucky, but it enabled me to review hi-fi components with a dramatically level playing field. There were no outside factors threatening to influence my decision. Now, I've been living in this new house for 6 months, I think it's been now, and I'm still getting used to it in review terms. I'm still tweaking it, still finding my feet, still finding the best way to review hi-fi. And this happens every time I move. The house itself affects the hi-fi sound, not just the hi-fi, not the accessories hanging off it, or not just those accessories, not just the room the hi-fi sits in, the entire house. Now, every review I've done in this house has been fine. Not perfect. I've done the job, sure, but I've grumbled every time. Every time. I've been mentally pacing like a lion, unhappy with the house itself. Now, I still live in a relatively quiet place. It's slightly more crowded, more than before anyway. Fortunately, this place is detached, which is a good thing for my job. The house is a lot smaller than it used to be. My reviewing space is now within the house itself. It's not separated, which is probably why every time I have reviewed something in this house, I can hear high frequency noise. I hear it as it's a kind of peak, like you might see a peak on an oscilloscope. I hear peaks, peaks on vocal crescendos, peaks on guitar solos, that kind of thing. That is, the sound can suddenly be edgy, like pointy knives in my ears, even when they don't go quite that far or quite that dramatic. These sounds can harden a little bit. It sounds like, well, it kind of feels like pressure on my ears. It's a pressure point. It's uncomfortable. I know the sound shouldn't be there, this pressure, this peak. Now, because I've been in this business for many, many years and I've listened to many, many components, I can sort of tell what belongs in the actual component and what's external. So I can kind of tell when this kind of high frequency noise is not part of the speakers or not part of the amp or the turntable or whatever. I can sort of hear what's going on outside the hi-fi loop. Not to say probably because I've been doing this a long time. It's practice, it's experience. As I say, if you do anything often enough, you get quite good at it. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been happy with my recent reviews and I'm happy with the conclusions I find. But the job has become harder because of this interference. I've been doing a good job in spite of what I feel and hear. So this stuff has been driving me mad of late. What to do? Well, things have been improving steadily. For example, I use Wi-Fi extenders all over the house to spread Wi-Fi throughout the house. So before a review, I unplug those. I turn them off, I unplug them. I unplug other devices in my listening room as well. All of that helps. Noise has reduced. A good thing. Later, I ended up shutting down my router entirely. That was plugged in nearby. That also helped. Yesterday, I was listening to a new pair of speakers, and hopefully you've seen the review here on Patreon. They offer a pretty balanced, spacious sound, but bam, there was an unexpected peak during the review. Now, my listening room sits right above the lounge, and I have a basic AV system down there, plus a second hi-fi system at the other end of the lounge, and I'll hopefully feature that on Patreon in the near future. In a fit of frustration, I ran downstairs. Fortunately, my wife was at work, and I disconnected everything from the wall in the lounge. Would you believe it? That helped even further. Other rooms were shut down as well. The only one left was my office, but that's going down in the future as well. Hence, during my listening tests, or from now on anyway, the entire house goes into lockdown. Each time I close a room down, I hear more music, less high-frequency interference, more information about the components under review. And it's all to do with the mains, isn't it? That's the issue here. So, extreme? Me? Absolutely, yes, you bet I'm extreme. But to be honest, I feel as though I have to be, though. I certainly don't expect you to do this, but this is my job, my livelihood. In addition, I'm scared stiff that I might be wrong, so I need to stack the cards in my favor. Also, I respect the companies who develop this gear. I also know they have to feed their families, so it's beholding on me to be doubly, triply sure about my opinions when I reach a conclusion. It is absolutely unprofessional and rather dangerous to go online, on YouTube, via a website, and half-heartedly, when you haven't done the work, slam a piece of hi-fi because you happen to be in a bad mood. You've got out of the bed the wrong side that day. It has happened. I've seen it happen. I know people who've admitted that they've been in a bad mood and they've given a crappy review. To me, that's disgraceful. It's just disgraceful. I would never do that. So I try to be very careful when I reach all of my conclusions. So look, half of the point of this piece is to give you a bit of behind the scenes info, and it's to give you some information on how seriously I treat my job and how I go about reviewing new hardware. But the hint and tidbit for you is this. Sure, I don't expect you to go as far as I do. I don't expect your house to enter lockdown when you listen to music. But I would encourage you to experiment with your listening area, if it's a room or just part of a room. For example, clean up the ring main that your hi-fi sits on. Disconnect devices that sit within and around it, certainly in the same room. See if that has an effect. Now listen to your system first before you start unplugging. So get your ears acclimatized to the current system, the current setup. Then when you've been listening, I don't know, give it an hour. Listen to your hi-fi for an hour. Listen to your favorite LP. And then unplug your devices and see if your hi-fi sounds immediately clearer. See if it presents greater clarity to your ears. Now, if it doesn't, fine, you've lost nothing at all, except maybe an hour of your life, but hopefully you are enjoying your music anyway. If it does change, then you have discovered a completely free upgrade. And then you may wish to go even further and start unplugging other stuff. Who knows? I don't know your house, you may have all kinds of bits. Knock yourself out anyway. Now, there is an old urban myth, which is not a myth at all, because it's absolutely true, that your hi-fi sounds better at night when compared to the day. Now, that's because more people use less devices and use less dirty electricity. There is less traffic around, which means a lower vibration, lower microphony, and all of that stuff. You can impose a lot of that welcome silence into your hi-fi during the day if you experiment by shutting down devices and pulling plugs. And pull the actual plug, folks. Switching off may not be enough. Pull the plug. Now, some of you will believe I've gone well and truly mad, but you've got to find out sometime. Hey, I've always heard hi-fi like this. Always. I might not have told everyone about it, my secret, but that's what I hear, and that's how I approach my reviews. Now, if you fancy trying it for yourself, have a dabble. As I say though, spend some time listening to the before sound first and get some time in on that, and then start unplugging things to hear the after effects. Then you will really hear the differences, no matter how subtle they may be. And that's it, folks. That's the end of this extraordinarily controversial video. Or maybe it's not. Maybe you agree. I have no idea. Anyway, I think we need an answer to that trivia question, and here it is. To repeat, which famous reggae hit was inspired by the artist's number in prison following a conviction in 1966 for possession of marijuana? And the answer is 5446. That's my number. That was the name of the song. This 1968 hit from Toots and the Maytals was inspired by frontman Toots Hibbett's time in Chokey. And that's your lot. Thank you very much for staying to the end of this video. I'll be back with another one of these next time, next week, same place in my gradually quieter house. I can hear pins dropping all around me. It's wonderful. Anyway, helps the old reviews, helps my sanity as well. Love to know your thoughts, and if you have decided to order the white van for the guys to take me away, then let me know what time they're arriving, and at least I can get the shoes and socks on, hey, to wait for them. I'll be back next time, as I say. Hope to have your company, and thank you again, folks, for all of your support, and I hope to see you then. Until next time, folks. Bye-bye for now.